The surface level reason is like the PTSD, all the trauma that this war is already inflicting. And like, that's how they are like pushing it. It's like, just think about all the refugees and all the war veterans from this conflict and how messed up they're going to be, and they're going to need some therapy to. So they're using that as like the ploy to basically test Ukraine as like a new market for these drugs. And what's crazy is that this short article in the New Yorker pretty much just like spelled this out, but they did it in like their cute way. And for people who don't know the background of like war and drugs and mind control and Ukraine and the neo-Nazis, like they didn't say anything about the fact that like, you know, a huge portion of the Ukrainian military is like neo-Nazis. They didn't get into that at all, but they did say, oh, there's a bunch of people from Ukraine and they're meeting with a bunch of people from the US, and we're all gung-ho on like trying to find a way that we can use these drugs in this conflict somehow. And I was just like, I read it and I was like, wow, they're straight up just like, and that's what's crazy about a lot of these things that I feel like you two have talked about in your shows before. Is like, often the information is out there. All you need is literally the critical thinking. That's all that's missing. They often just tell us straight up what they're gonna do, you know? Like, they literally announced this in the New Yorker, like, hey, by the way, we're planning on using these drugs to dose a bunch of people in Ukraine, and it's going to be for their trauma, and we're going to make a bunch of money from it. That's the gist of what this article was saying. Now, I'm paraphrasing, and the meeting happened in like a hip art studio in Manhattan, and they talked to, and what's wild though is that the artist who hosted this meeting, right, all of their art right now is based on the robots that are being built by DARPA. So DARPA gives this artist, and I wrote a piece about this on my High and Mighty Substack, also on Ukraine. There's a link at the bottom for people who find the piece on Ukraine. If you just go to the bottom, there's a link to all the other stuff I've written about, like Ukraine and drugs and stuff. But there's an artist in New York who she's given these robots by DARPA to make like cool, sexy art with. And then they're hosting this meeting about how to use drugs in Ukraine in this person's art studio. Now, I don't have any problem with these people individually, right? I'm not trying to like beef with these people. This artist, like, good for them, you know? Their art, it actually looks kind of nice. But like, if you look structurally at what's happening, it's like, hold up, they're getting these robots from DARPA. It's like, I wonder what else they're getting from DARPA. You know what I mean? Like, and then the fact that like this artist like literally says, I don't, okay, here, I'm gonna just read the quote because I don't want to misspeak, but it's really important that people, this is the pretext, because I already was writing about all this when I found out about the neo-Nazi stuff that then is what you two saw. So, but this artist, she said, she said, the world has a, quote, fatigue with the war, meaning the war in Ukraine. Like, we're all getting tired of it because it's already been going on for a few months, and it's like we're all so bored of now, right? But she says, if we talk about how to use drugs like ayahuasca and stuff, it quote, might make it a sexy conversation again. So like, she's literally being like, these drugs might make the Ukraine war sexy. It's like, are you serious? And they're literally just printing this in the New Yorker. And it's like, to someone who is just like gobbling all this down and not thinking about it, it's like, okay, cool, yeah, ooh, this is so edgy, drugs, sexy, war, ooh. But it's like, wait a minute, this artist gets robots from DARPA, and they're saying that they can use drugs to make war more sexy for the public. Like, woo, this just the whole, you know, it's deep. And then, so I was already attuned to all that stuff. And then, so what's interesting is that one of the people who attended this meeting that happened in the art studio with the DARPA robots in Manhattan is a delegate from the Ukrainian Psychedelic Research Association. And That's really like one of the main groups that the article that you two saw first it is about. So they, on the surface, it looks like they're not aligned with anybody.